What if I told you that after decades of Batman films, and I mean decades, we've somehow never seen his actual son suit up as Robin on the big screen? Yeah, wrap your head around that one. Look, we've watched Batman's origin story more times than anyone asked for. We've seen countless versions of Gotham burning, brooding billionaires in the Batcave, and enough tragic pearls hitting the pavement to open a jewelry store. But James Gunn's upcoming film, The Brave and the Bold, it's apparently throwing out the entire playbook. This isn't another reboot. This isn't Batman Year One, the remix. According to DC Studios, this movie is bringing 3 elements to live action that have never been done before in any Batman film. And honestly, some of these omissions are kind of baffling when you think about how long this character has dominated cinema. So let's break down what makes his version potentially groundbreaking, or at the very least, genuinely different from everything we've seen before. First up, we're finally getting Damian Wayne in live action. And before you say, wait, haven't we had Robin before? Yes, absolutely. We've had Dick Grayson, we've had Jason Todd references, we even had that version we don't talk about from the 90s. But Damian, he's a completely different animal, literally trained to be one. Here's what sets him apart. Damian is Bruce Wayne's biological son with Talia al Ghul. Bruce didn't even know the kid existed for the first decade of his life. While other Robins were orphans who Batman took under his wing and trained in heroism, Damian was raised by the League of Assassins, basically a cult of elite killers to be the perfect weapon. His grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, molded him into an heir worthy of leading the League. Gunn himself described Damian to Variety in pretty blunt terms, calling him a little murderer and assassin, and a little son of a bitch. That's not your typical wholesome sidekick introduction. This is a kid who shows up in Batman's life already knowing 50 ways to kill someone with a pencil, already believing he's superior to everyone around him, and already struggling with a moral compass that points somewhere between extremely violent and disturbingly efficient. Now, does this make for good drama? Absolutely. Does it risk being too edgy? Maybe. The challenge here will be balancing Damian's legitimate darkness. This is a child soldier we're talking about, with making him someone audiences can root for. Comic readers know Damian eventually evolves into one of the most compelling characters in the Bat family, but that journey takes time. Will a single film be enough to sell that arc? That's the gamble. What's fascinating is the father-son dynamic this creates. Bruce Wayne has always been about control. Controlling Gotham, controlling his mission, controlling his trauma. Suddenly, he's got a son he can't control, who challenges everything Batman stands for, particularly that ironclad rule about not killing. That's ripe for conflict, but it also requires really thoughtful writing to avoid feeling melodramatic. Second major element, we're getting an actual established Bat family for the first time on film. Think about it. Most Batman movies give us a lone wolf, maybe with one partner. Nolan's trilogy had variations of this. Burton's films kept it minimal. Even The Batman with Robert Pattinson was essentially a solo operation with some allies. But a full functioning network of heroes? Nightwing, Batgirl, potentially Red Hood, all working together before Damian even shows up? That's never happened in theaters. Peter Safran, DC Studios co-CEO, explicitly told Collider they're including other members of the extended Bat family, because these characters have been left out of Batman stories in the theater for far too long. Which, fair point, but it also raises questions. The appeal here is obvious. Imagine Damian arriving and discovering he's not just competing for his father's attention, but for his place in an already established team. There are siblings who've been doing this for years, who've earned their place, who've bled for Gotham. Then this arrogant 10-year-old shows up claiming he's the real son, the biological heir, and he fights like he's trying to prove it every single night. That's juicy drama. But here's my skepticism. Cramming all these characters into one film could easily become cluttered. Audiences who aren't comic readers might struggle to keep track of who's who, what their relationships are, and why we should care about each of them. The MCU spent over a decade building to ensemble dynamics that worked. Can one Batman film establish multiple heroes, their relationships, and Damian's integration without feeling rushed? It's ambitious, I'll give him that. Whether it's achievable is another question entirely. The third unprecedented element is arguably the most significant from a creative standpoint. This film is explicitly based on Grant Morrison's Batman run, specifically the Batman and Son storyline. For those unfamiliar, Morrison's work on Batman from the mid-2000s is considered one of the definitive modern interpretations of the character. It's cerebral, it's weird in the best way, and it treats Batman as both a very human, damaged person and as this larger-than-life symbol. Morrison's run introduced Damian and explored themes of legacy, fatherhood, and what it means when your past literally comes back to haunt you in the form of a violent child you never knew existed. Gunn himself described Morrison's work among his favorite Batman stories, which suggests a genuine passion for this material rather than just picking a recognizable comic to adapt. That's encouraging. When filmmakers actually love their source material, it tends to show. But let's be real. Morrison's work is dense. It's layered with references, symbolism, and continuity. It rewards readers who pay attention and know their Batman history. Translating that to film for a general audience, many of whom just want to see Batman punch bad guys, could be tricky. You need to capture the emotional core and character dynamics without getting so lost in comic book mythology that casual viewers check out. The advantage, this gives the film a clear roadmap. Rather than cobbling together elements from various stories or inventing something entirely new, they've got an acclaimed narrative foundation. The risk, Morrison's run isn't universally beloved. Some fans found it too experimental or didn't warm to Damian initially. Adapting it faithfully might alienate some viewers while thrilling others. Here's something that supports all three of these unprecedented elements: the world-building approach DC Studios is taking with Gotham itself. Evidence from production materials for the upcoming Clayface film, which also takes place in Gotham, reveals something pretty remarkable. The production team has created detailed city maps featuring 43 different DC Comics locations. We're talking the Iceberg Lounge, Arkham Asylum, Blackgate Penitentiary, Ace Chemical Processing Plant, the Clock Tower, basically every iconic Gotham landmark you can name. What does this tell us? It confirms that when The Brave and the Bold begins, Batman has been operating for years. This isn't year one. This isn't even year 5. This is an established Batman with an established rogues gallery, established allies, and established infrastructure. The villains are already locked up. The team is already functioning. The city is lived in. This makes the Bat family dynamic plausible. You can believe that Nightwing, Batgirl, and others have been doing this for years, because the evidence of Batman's long operation is literally built into the city. The Clock Tower as Oracle's base? Already there. Multiple safe houses? Presumably scattered throughout those 43 locations. It's smart world building that creates a foundation for these unprecedented story elements. Though, again, skepticism. Will audiences get to experience this rich world, or will it just be background dressing? Creating detailed maps is one thing. Making viewers feel that history in depth is another. So why make such a big deal about these 3 firsts? Because Batman films have been playing it relatively safe for a while. We get origin stories or early Batman. We get solo Batman with maybe one partner. We get stories pulled from multiple comic sources blended together. What we haven't gotten is a Batman film that trusts audiences to jump into an already complex, fully formed world with an established hero facing one of his most personal challenges. If Gunn pulls this off, it could redefine what a Batman film can be. Not another beginning, but a middle chapter of a life we haven't seen. Not another loner story, but a genuine ensemble family drama that happens to involve people in capes. But, and this is important, ambition doesn't guarantee success. Unique doesn't automatically mean good. These 3 elements could gel into something genuinely special, or they could collapse under their own weight into an overstuffed mess that tries to do too much too fast. The wait is going to be interesting, that's for sure. Look, James Gunn has earned some benefit of the doubt. His work on the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker showed he can balance heart, humor, and surprising depth with comic book weirdness. But this is Batman, arguably the most scrutinized superhero character in cinema. The pressure is immense, and the expectations are sky high. Will Damian Wayne work on screen? Can a full Bat family be introduced without feeling cluttered? And will Morrison's complex storytelling translate effectively? These are genuine questions that won't be answered until we're sitting in theaters. What I do know is this: after countless Batman films, the fact that we're even discussing 3 genuinely unprecedented elements is noteworthy. Whether they're good ideas remains to be seen. but at least they're trying something different. So here's what I want to know from you. Are you excited about Damian Wayne finally showing up in live action? Do you think a full Bat family will work, or is it too much too soon? And for the comic readers out there, is Morrison's run the right source material, or would you have preferred a different storyline? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I'm genuinely curious where everyone stands on this. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like and subscribe button for more movie news. Seriously, it helps more than you know. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.